Welcome. Today let's learn about engine oil level sensor. As the name itself suggests, the main purpose of this sensor is to measure amount of oil that is present in the engine block. As we all know, engine oil is crucial for lubrication of engine internals such as piston rings, crankshaft, camshaft and valves. Also it helps maintaining the optimum engine temperature. Now first let's understand this diagram. The outside part is the cylinder wall, the inside cylindrical part is called piston, and this part is crankshaft, and the part that is connecting crankshaft and the piston is called connecting rod. The oil is usually stored in this region, and once the engine starts it circulates everywhere inside the engine. And if you look at this diagram, this is a block diagram. This is an engine block. These are cylinders, and the bottom part here you are seeing is called oil sump. This is where the oil is stored, and this part is oil level sensor, and the oil level sensor is connected to ECU. And here you can even see oil filter in the system. And this is the oil sump. This is a strainer part from where the oil is sucked to the oil filter, where it is filtered and the filtered oil is circulated to the engine. As we understood earlier, engine oil is crucial for lubrication of engine internals such as piston rings, crankshaft, connecting rods, and it serves another purpose of maintaining the engine temperature, that is maintaining optimum engine temperature, thus reducing the stress and fatigue on the engine internals. That's why maintaining the optimum level of the engine oil is crucial. That's why you might have observed dipstick in the engine. That is this part with the two markings on top and the bottom. The top part is maximum level and the bottom one is minimum level. It is recommended to have the engine oil in between these two marks. The usual practice is to fill the engine oil up to the max. And there is a misunderstanding that more engine oil is good for the engine life, but it's not the case. You should always limit the engine oil up to the max. That is, engine life will degrade if you fill the engine oil more than the max or lesser than the minimum. That's why it is always better to refer owner's manual or service manual to know how much amount of oil to put after service. Here you need to pay attention for two important parameters. One is the oil grade and two is the amount of oil. For the normal service where you drain the engine oil through the drain bolt of the engine oil sump, there will be one amount. For example, 1 liter or 1.2 liter for two-wheelers and 2.5 or 3.5 liters for a car. Let's take it as an example. Now, this oil quantity will increase if you take apart the engine. For example, you have removed crankcase or clutch, you have done a major service of the engine, then you have to add more amount of oil, and that will be mentioned in your service manual or owner's manual. Now this is a warning lamp that comes on when your engine oil level drops below the critical level. That is, this comes up on your dashboard. Usually you would have observed this symbol when you are starting up the car. That is, usually when you are still at the ignition level, not cranking, this light will be on, and after cranking for 1 or 2 seconds this light will go away. That is, this is because when engine is in cold condition, the oil would have settled at the bottom, and as soon as you crank it, it starts circulating everywhere, and the oil level sensor will start detecting, and this warning will go off. And if this doesn't go off even after starting and waiting for a few seconds, then you have a low engine oil level and better to get it checked or check it yourself. And this is a standard practice whenever you are starting the car. It is recommended to check the engine oil level. This step might seem tedious, but it's better to at least check before going on a long drive. Now let's understand what are the types of oil level sensor. The first one is float type. This is similar to what I have mentioned in fuel level sensor. The float type consists of a shaft and a float, and it floats over the engine oil. As the oil level increases, the angle of the pivot changes depending on the oil level, and at the pivot point the potentiometer will be connected, and the resistance of the potentiometer changes in accordance to the angle of the potentiometer. Thus, the variation in the angle of the pivot gives rise to the variation in the resistance of the potentiometer. Thus, we will get a variable voltage as an output. Here, you can see as the oil level is increasing, the voltage is also increasing. In this case, the sensor voltage and the oil level are directly proportional to each other. And when we go to the next type, that is ultrasonic type, this consists of two parts, that is, one is transmitter and another one is receiver. The working frequency range of this is between 20 kHz to 200 kHz. The transmitter keeps on sending the sound waves which hit the engine oil surface and bounce back to the receiver. Now the ECU will calculate the total time taken from the transmitter to the oil level and back to the receiver, and it will divide it by 2. With the help of the speed of sound, we can calculate the distance between the TX and the oil level. Thus, depending on the voltage, we can predict how much oil is left behind. And this ultrasonic type is the most accurate among the three. Now when it comes to the capacitive type, this consists of two tubes. One is inner tube and one is outer tube, and usually present in the oil sump, and as the oil level increases, it fills in between the void of inner tube and outer tube. Thus it acts as a dielectric element, and as the oil level increases, the capacitance increases. Thus it will lead to a change in voltage, and from this change in voltage we can find out the amount of engine oil left. Now in this part, let's understand what are the symptoms of bad or faulty oil level sensor. First one is MIL lamp and oil lamp. As I mentioned earlier, as soon as the oil level drops, the ECU will turn on MIL lamp, also the oil level warning lamp, and this should not be ignored at all times. And in some cases, the ECU will initiate the limp mode. That is, the ECU will limit the engine to a particular RPM. For example, 3000 RPM. It will not allow to rev more than 3000 RPM, and this is done so that you go to the service center without fail. And the next one is engine won't start. That is, when you allow the engine oil to drop below the critical level even after the repeated warnings, ECU will not allow you to start the car. That is, then you might have to tow it to the service center. And in some cases, the oil level sensor might be faulty because the location of this oil level sensor is in the oil sump, and it is constantly surrounded by the dirt, grease, grime, and it is in a high temperature and high stress environment. Sometimes there can be a faulty level sensor, and even when there is an oil reduction, it might have not sensed the reduction in engine oil. That's why it is always important to check your engine oil level periodically. Now let's understand what happens if we ignore this warning. That is, engine might undergo a permanent damage. That is, some damage might not be reversible. Then you will be forced to change some parts in the engine because of extensive wear and tear. Also, there will be a significant decrease in engine life, and also the fuel economy will be affected. I hope you understood my explanation on engine oil level sensor, and if you learned something, please do like and subscribe to the channel. I'll meet you in the next video. Bye bye.